come away with a victory 125-104. The team last in the NBA in assists picks up 31 today. The Clippers with just 12 assists on their 34 made field goals. The good news for the Clippers, you got another one with a rest advantage against Sacramento as you finally head home after 5 games in 4 cities and 8 nights. The Clippers will get a stretch to unpack, and we'll unpack this one when we return. Adam Oslin will take over. Final score from the Toyota Center for Carlo Jimenez, Jeanette Minchow, Adam Pinyar, statistician, Katie Newton, and Adam Oslin back in the studio. Don't go anywhere. Clippers Talk and Clippers Postgame is coming up next here on your Clippers Audio Network.
Clippers lose in Houston 125-104 in the Emirates Cup as they open up group play. And they go 0 for 2 in the Texas two-step, losing there on Wednesday night as well. Welcome into your postgame show. I'm Adam Oslin. Coming up, we got your postgame box score, and we'll take your phone calls on AM 570 LA Sports on Clippers Talk, 866-987-2570. 866-987-2570 is the phone number. You can also get to me at Follow Adam A. But first, let's get back out to Toyota Center with your radio voice of the Clippers and Carlo Jimenez. Well, quite frankly, Carlo, I got to say, on a night where the Houston Rockets shot 43% from 3, and it was much higher than that throughout most of the game, felt like the Clippers just got ambushed a little bit, maybe a little bit outclassed.
Yeah, Jabari Smith Jr., Adam, got to give him credit. He was excellent to start the game. Made his first 5 threes. He had 16 points, and he had missed 1 shot in that first half. His blitz to start things gave Houston a big-time lead, and they just never looked back in this one. The Rockets were able to dominate offensively, get anything they wanted on that end of the floor, and get downhill and get to the rim. They didn't offensive rebound the same way they did in the Wednesday night contest, but they beat the Clippers with their hot shooting today. A season-high 19 made threes. The Clippers moved to 0-5 this season when they allow opponents to make 15 or more threes. They are 6-1 at them when teams make less than 15 threes. So that'll tell you all you need to know. Right now, the Clippers giving up threes and paying for it in the loss column.
Yeah, and on the other end, they went 10 of 40 from the outside. They came into this series the hottest team from distance, having shot about 48% in their last 5 games before they landed in Houston. And then the numbers skewed and went the other way against them in a drastic way. And the Clippers also were under 40% from the field in this one. They just never got their offense unlocked, and I just felt like, their offense hurts their defense. There's that symbiotic relationship. When the Clippers aren't knocking down the shots, they can't set their defense. They can't play that elite half-court defense where they are in that area when they can set their defense, but unfortunately, you got to hit shots typically to do that.
Yeah, and the Clippers didn't hit shots. And hitting shots is always great because it gives you that a little bit of an adrenaline boost. It makes you feel good as you go back on the defensive end, and it allows you to catch your breath a little bit, especially against the Houston team that is going to rebound and push every single time. The big difference in this game, and Adam Pena, our statistician, pointed it out, the Rockets go on a 36-8 run, I believe, in the final 8.5 minutes of that second quarter. 35-16 run in the final 8:28 of the second, 35-15. And that really did the Clippers in. And I don't think the Clippers ever bounced back after bringing it to a 1-point game. This is a team that looked tired today, and rightfully so. I mean, 8 nights, 5 different cities, 4 different games. It's an exhausting stretch nonetheless, despite it not being technically that long of a road trip. The Clippers only had 1 home game, which, as we all know in the NBA, feels like a road game when you only have the 1 home game. So for this Clipper team, opportunity to bounce back. You get Sacramento on a rest, or you get Utah, a team that's only won 3 games, sitting towards the bottom of the West, on a rest advantage. But for the Clippers, you got to get back to your roots, and that was spreading the ball around, getting Norman Powell and Ivica Zubac involved early, finding success with them. And then the question becomes, how deep do you want to go? Because clearly Kobe Brown and Jordan Miller, who played against starters today. Fred VanVleet was out there the entire time. Alfred Şengün was out there. Dylan Brooks was out there. Played well. And Ty Lue really has to figure out, all right, is he going to rotate 12? Is he going to just play the hot hand? Is he going to play matchups? I don't know. I don't know if it's going to change too much in terms of results, Adam. That starting group still has a lot on their shoulders. They were a -12 today after being a +15 on Wednesday. But you feel like the Clippers can bring more youth off the bench. Like you mentioned, Nico Batum only getting 4 minutes in this one. The lineup is not solidified, and we learned that especially today. The Clippers' Achilles heel throughout this tenure with Kawhi Leonard has been young athletic teams, and the Clippers are kind of built to be the Achilles heel of this the Rockets are built to be the Achilles heel of this Clipper team, and they flex that muscle today.
Yeah, and I think as you mentioned there, it's an evolving lineup and rotation situation under Coach Lue right now, with the young guys starting to get run in these 2 games in Houston. I'm very intrigued to see what happens moving forward. Does Jordan Miller break through and get that consistent 10-game look like we saw last season with Kobe Brown when he was playing next to guys like Kawhi, Paul George, and James Harden? But they still made sure to get a young guy an opportunity out there. I wonder if that's going to happen with Jordan Miller at some point. Kevin Porter Jr., though, played, I thought, one of his better games so far this season. 15 points, an efficient 15 points, 5 of 10 shooting, knocked down 3 3-pointers back in Houston. So who is out of the lineup? Who gets minutes taken away from them to extend some minutes now with Jordan Miller? These are the tough decisions that Coach Lue is going to have to make. I think Nicholas Batum could be one of those guys just because, he's a old vet that is going to root for the young guys as they're getting minutes, and he'll help coach them up as well. And this is not somebody that's going to make a stink if he's on the bench for a couple of weeks, and maybe he can regain some of that, pop to his game, because it hasn't been there maybe over the last week or so. And he played heavy minutes, obviously, for Team France in the Olympics. We talked about that a little bit earlier as well. I just wonder, how does a guy get a little bit more run in this rotation when they are a really deep ball club also? So it's a tough balance. It's a tough situation for Coach Lou to have to figure out, well, all of a sudden we're going to have all these new lineups, 13 games in now? It's not easy, but I think they got the right guy, the chiropractor, the adjuster out there in Coach Lou to try to figure these things out.
Yeah, and like we said earlier after the loss to OKC, it's a team that lost 6 in a row last year, and everyone was saying the sky is falling. We were about this point in the season, and the Clippers had struggled to score. They were looked at as one of the biggest disappointments in the NBA. And then in December, they were the best team in the NBA and finals favorites. So things can flip in a hurry, especially in this league. If you can get other guys involved, figure out rotations, and understand how to play your brand of basketball consistently every single night. Feels like Adam, especially, I don't know if you feel the same way, but Harden is searching for that record-breaking shot and almost feels like he's hunting it, which is throwing off his game a little bit. Dillon Brooks clearly knew that. He played him off the line the entire way. The Clippers maybe need him to get that off his back and then come back in and be aggressive. So it's an odd time for this Clipper team. You feel like they're trying to still feel things out. This 3-game road trip, though, you learned that you got to guard the 3-ball because the Rockets burned them twice and OKC burned them from downtown. The Clippers have to be better defensively from outside the arc. They have to rebound. They have to get back on the defensive end. They got opportunities to learn. You finally get to sleep in the same bed for a couple nights in a row, and we'll see if that re-energizes this group. I'm feeling good about the game against Utah. You get a back-to-back with Golden State and then see Orlando. Not going to be easy, but for a team that's trying to find their mojo, 3 very, very good teams to go up against.
Yeah, and you look at the starting lineup tonight for this Clippers team and guys who just uncharacteristically had some really poor performances. Derek Jones Jr., 0 of 7. Ivica Zubac, 2 of 7. Norman Powell, 3 of 11. James Harden did shoot 50% from the field, but he still had 5 turnovers, so just 2 assists out there. And I do agree with you. The pressure probably mounting for that record to break Ray Allen being second all time when it comes to three-point shots made in NBA history. You know that could be weighing on him a little bit. But Norman Powell, they're trying to keep him from going right. The game plan is out there against him, and the Houston Rockets are elite defensively. So it was a bad matchup, maybe wrong place, wrong time, as the Houston Rockets are really thriving and starting to figure things out. They're 9-4 now on this young season, and I think they're turning a lot of heads. So tip your cap to them. Clippers got to regroup. They'll be coming back to take on the Utah Jazz. That'll be back at Intuit Dome on Sunday night. Tip time will be at 6 p.m. We'll have your pregame show starting at 5. Carlo Jimenez, safe travels back to Los Angeles, my friend. We will talk to you on Sunday.
See you in person, Adam. Let's go.
Coming up next, we'll get to your final box score. Clippers lose in Houston 125-104 to the Rockets. And you're listening to the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network. Clippers lose in Houston again, 125 to 104 in an Emirates Cup game. Clippers ended up shooting just 38% from the field. The Houston Rockets were at 48%. They went 19 of 44 from three. That is 43% when they came into this game, shooting just 32% from the outside. They caught fire the last couple of games against the Clippers from distance, who only shot 10 of 40, your Los Angeles Clippers, from three. When they came into the series, a top 3-point shooting team, a top 3-point shooting team, I should say, in the league. So things swung the other way there. If you want to take solace in the fact that, hey, the Clippers had 51 boards to 48 for the Houston Rockets, I would also say, yeah, they had 4 more offensive rebounds, probably because they missed so many shots out there. So they still had 15 turnovers in the ball game, far too many. 10 of those came in the first half, too sloppy with it. And as Carlo pointed out, Houston went on that 35 to 15 run in the last 8 minutes of the second quarter. Clippers made a little bit of a push as they were down 20 at the half. Early in the third, they got it to within 12. Houston called a timeout, and the Rockets just poured it on from there. Great adjustments by them, and this Clippers team with multiple starters having off nights, and they've had a couple of them now. I'm looking at Ivica Zubac, not nearly as aggressive, didn't like the body language out there, only got up 7 shots, 1 less than you got up on Wednesday. Norman Powell, 3 of 11. He was struggling in both games against the Houston Rockets. Chris Dunn, 6 of 13, but just 1 of 7 from the outside. And then Derrick Jones Jr., uncharacteristically bad, 0 of 7 game. His worst shooting game so far as a Clipper, to say the least. Clippers lose 125 to 104 in Houston to the Rockets. Their next game coming up against the Utah Jazz. That'll be on Sunday night back at Intuit Dome. More on that coming up right here on the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network. Clippers lose big in Houston for the second time in 3 days. Final score, Rockets 125, Clippers 104 in their first Emirates Cup Group A game. They are 0-1. Clippers 6-7 now on the season. The Houston Rockets are 9-4. Clippers got to regroup. figure things out, find some new rotations, I think, because it looks like the young guys are starting to play. And I don't know how you keep Jordan Miller out. He's too good. The guy got up 10 free throws in 10 minutes. They can't guard him. They can't defend without fouling against Jordan Miller. No can defend. He had 11 points in his 10 minutes. That's the bright spot. I thought KPJ was better, but a lot of poor performances in this one from the starters, the vets. They did look a little bit gassed. There are some stats out there that'll tell you the Clippers have had the toughest schedule so far in the league, but Houston Rockets are also a very good ball club, and I thought imposed their will, physicality, athleticism, and three-point shooting. Season high, 19 made threes for the Houston Rockets. Some of that is just shot variance. Some of that's bad defense. But if you're looking for a number in this game, they hit 19 threes on 44 attempts. That's 43% from the outside. The Clippers, on 40 attempts, hit just 10 of them. That is 25% from three. Sometimes it's that simple. Clippers lose 125-104 in a make-or-miss league in Houston against the Rockets. Coming up in LA, we'll have Clippers talk, 866-987-2570. But outside of Los Angeles, we are leaving you until Sunday night back at Intuit Dome for the front end of a back-to-back. Clippers taking on the Utah Jazz. Tip-off is at 6, pregame at 5. I'm Adam Osland outside of LA. Talk to you on Sunday in LA. It's Clippers Talk next. Clippers, we have a problem here. Clippers lose and go 0-2 in Houston to the Rockets. They fall big in both ball games where a lot of the starters just did not show up. Welcome in to your Clippers Talk show here on AM 570 LA Sports and on the YouTube side at Clippers Talk after they fall 125-104 to the Rockets for the second straight game. This was an in-season tournament game, if you're into that sort of thing. And quite frankly, the Clippers weren't nearly good enough from the get-go. They were down double digits in the first quarter. They got down big at the half by 20. They made a slight push early in the third, had it to within 12. But ultimately, they were down 19 still. They only shaved it down by 1 point heading into the fourth quarter. And that's when Coach Lue went to the backups. They also made a slight push. What'd they get to? 16, 14 points, I think. So this gets interesting now, Clipper Nation, because when they were 6-4, and I was saying, well, I feel like they're overachieving, if anything. I feel like they're a 500 team without Kawhi Leonard. Those were my expectations coming into this season. What were yours? Because your level of disappointment is directly tied to your expectations. If you were in the same headspace that I was, thinking that without Kawhi, if they can just hang around 500, that's success. That's the Clippers in a good spot. They're 6-7, and the Houston Rockets are good. I don't know what some people thought they were getting into against this Houston Rockets team when I previewed this game or this 2-game mini series coming up. I said, the Rockets are good, guys. One of the top defenses, one of the top rebounding teams. Somebody said, for being honest, the Clippers should beat this team. What? Why? The Rockets had the better record at that time, and they proved to be a better team in both games. They're more talented, and guess what turned around? And I was worried about this when I talked about it in the preview. Their three-point shooting. They went from being a team that was shooting 31% from the outside heading into these two games to shooting well over 40% after these two games. In fact, tonight, they went for a season high 19 made threes against the Clippers. Some of that's just really hot shooting. And guess who cooled off at the same time to compound things? The Clippers and Norman Powell. That's a recipe for disaster. How do you lose a game like this? By 21? Well, one team goes 19 of 44 from three. The other goes 10 of 40 from three. One team was top 3 in three-point shooting heading into this 2-game series, the Clippers. The other team was bottom 3 in three-point shooting heading into this series. Guess what happened? Things flipped. Law of averages, fluky shooting, whatever you want to say. The Rockets look like the Clippers for those 5 games where they went 4-1, and nobody was hotter from the outside, as during that stretch they shot 48% from 3. That's how the Rockets looked in these 2 games. I'm not surprised by any of this. I'm well aware of their talent level without Kawhi Leonard. It is going to be a struggle at times offensively, especially if Norman Powell is out there after the hot streak that he was on, going 3 for 11. And it looked worse than that. And the Rockets had all the defenders in the world to throw at him, and he was trying to play the foul bait game, and it wasn't working. Got into it with the referees. That didn't help. Norm's got to play through that. But teams have the scouting report now. Just like we all know, every team knows Norm likes to go right. You stop him from going right, it eliminates a lot of his game. That's the difference when you're a starter and all of a sudden you're getting heavy minutes and you're going up against the other team's first unit. You get scouted harder and you're going up against better players. And the Rockets have a lot of them. They are deep. They are well coached. They are physical. I said all that heading into the series. And now they're 9-4. And the Clippers are 6-7. So are you panicking? Or do you kind of understand, yeah, without Kawhi, things are going to be tough. And you just can't, hey, if you're a fan and you want to ride the wave of emotions all the time and, treat every game like it's the Super Bowl, I get it. But I would preach some patience because the Clippers are at a talent disadvantage against most teams, like the Rockets. and they didn't play well. And some of that is Houston and their defense and their rebounding. And some of that is just the Clippers, Ivica Zubats being very passive, them trying to get him involved sporadically. And I'm putting a lot of this, though, on Ivica Zubats in tonight's ball game. You take 8 shots Wednesday, and you take even less tonight. He only gets to 7. I know he didn't play in the fourth quarter. I don't think he did on Wednesday either. So Big Zoo has to be better, period, and more consistent. He was not good enough the last 2 games. And if Big Zoo isn't playing well, you're probably going to lose. Him having a big game doesn't guarantee a victory, but him having a game like this probably guarantees a defeat. That's how I see it with the Ivica Zubats. And while we have a moment, let's pause 10 seconds for station identification here on the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network and AM 570 LA Sports. Eight 987-2570 is the phone number. 866-987-2570. I'm Adam Oz, and we'll take a quick time out here. We'll come back. We'll get your phone calls. We'll hear from Coach Lou post-game after the Clippers lose another one. Lose both against Houston. Let's see. This was a cup game. What else is at stake? They're falling behind them in the standings, which means, if you've been paying attention and listening to me, there's this whole pick swap thing with the OKC Thunder. They're going to take whoever has the better pick, meaning whoever is the worst team this season, between the Clippers and Houston Rockets. And right now, the worst team is the Clippers, which means they could lose another first-round pick to OKC. So 2 significant losses. There were some bright spots, though. We'll talk about them next, right here on AM 570 LA Sports. Clippers lose badly again in Houston. Deja vu. Deja Zoo. He didn't play well. Ivica Zubats struggled again. Some people are blaming the coaching for this, like they didn't try to get him involved early. Some of this is on Big Zoo, guys. He has not been nearly aggressive enough, and the Clippers lose 125-104 in Houston to the Rockets. I called the first bucket of the third quarter before it happened. I said, get it to Big Zoo and get it out of the way. It happened. He got that one of his 2 makes. But If you're in here on the chat on the YouTube side at Clippers Talk or listening on AM 570 LA Sports and you want to get on, 866-987-2570, 866-987-2570. Saying the coaching staff ran the exact same game plan that got them blown out last time, it just isn't true. Like, some of this is on guys just not making simple entry passes. Some of it is on Ivica Zubac not being nearly aggressive enough. Did you watch James Harden tell him, go? Back your man down. What are you waiting for? Go at him. Zubac was being far too passive, and this is the most disappointed I've been in him so far this season. So, a lot of you guys want to talk about blaming Coach Lou right now or blaming one player. There's a lot of things you can blame for this. If you want to oversimplify things and say it's just this or that, come on. First of all, start with this. The Rockets hit 19 threes after they had 15 on Wednesday. They woke up from distance. Law of averages went against the Clippers' favor. They were a bottom three-point shooting team until the last two games. I knew they weren't that bad. I knew guys would wake up at some point, and they did against the Clippers. Some of that is outside their control. People will say, oh, defense has to be better. There is not much you can do against some of the hot shooting in today's league. Defensively, especially on the perimeter. It can be pick your poison sometimes. So everybody wanted to blame someone and just lash out or make someone the scapegoat or panic, as Frankie Boy 9 says on the YouTube side, as I'm reading some of the comments here. There are a lot of moving parts when it comes to these Clippers losses and things to look at. But start with this. Houston's good. They're better than the Clippers. Significantly right now. Right? I figured they would be coming into the season if the Clippers don't have Kawhi, and they're still without him. And we learned on Wednesday that Coach Lou doesn't know if he'll be back even practicing this month. So I really don't understand how some people can just be like, Clips Gang TV says, it takes a lot of planning and effort to keep losing consistently, ridiculously. Time to take a closer look at the coach. Peace. Go Clippers. Consistently? Ridiculously? See, they've had 13 straight winning seasons. Coach Lou has been here for the last 5 seasons. How did they lose ridiculously? Does that mean anything? How'd they lose ridiculously? I'd love to know if somebody could explain that. Some people were blaming Sam Sanatorium, who almost got muted earlier here in the chat. Yeah, there was some ridiculous hot shooting by Houston. I don't know what Coach Lou is supposed to do about that, especially while his team's missing everything. And Chris Dunn missed his first 5 3-pointers, and they were wide open. They were giving him the Draymond Green treatment. They said, we're going to shrink the floor, play off of Chris Dunn, and dare him to shoot. Well, he went 1 of 7 from 3. Was good for 2. Went, I think, 5 of 6 there. Had some bully ball moments, some tough buckets. One on Şengün at the basket. Ty Lue, for people who don't understand coaching, it's not easy or not as easy as just start benching all these guys 13 games into the season. He's getting a look at some guys. He's giving an opportunity to some guys. Maybe we'll see Jordan Miller get in earlier in the fourth quarter coming up this weekend or coming up on Sunday. But there's a locker room that you have to manage and personalities and egos, and it's not fantasy basketball. I agree with this. Lee Vyman saying Harden and Norm got to take it easy on the foul baiting. They're not getting the calls. No, they're not. Norm was getting into it with the refs, and the frustration was boiling over, and I rolled my eyes at some of the foul baiting he was doing. It's not going to happen. So I think there's blame to go around. You can't have Norman Powell and Ivica Zubac combine to play this poorly in a game and expect to win when the Clippers are already at an offensive deficiency when it comes to talent out there. Norman Powell and Ivica Zubats, guys. I can't believe I'm reading this. They combined to go 5 for 18. I don't know what's worse, only making 5 shots or only taking 18. Only combined to score 14 points. What are we talking about? All right. Let's hear from Coach Lou. This is him talking to Law Murray of The Athletic. I had Law on the pregame show. Here was Coach Lou postgame after his squad lost 125 to 104 in Houston to the Rockets.
Did you have in mind going into the game that you were going to give those guys an opportunity, or like was this one of those game flow situations? Because this game wasn't over, those Jordan, Kobe, Bones, you brought those guys in with a chance to make the run that they did. Like,
all right, that's from Wednesday, actually. Old audio. We're looking for new audio here. We will find it here from Law Murray, I'm sure, shortly. I don't think Coach Lou has come to the podium quite yet. But the good news is this, since I teased it out before the break, I think Jordan Miller is him. I think he's a guy that can thrive at this level because everything he has done in the G League, the preseason, the summer league, whenever he has gotten minutes against real NBA players, he's doing the exact same stuff. He bullied his way to get 10 free throws where guys just couldn't guard him. I mean, just ridiculous stuff from Jordan Miller. He did it to Tari Eason, guys, one of the better defenders in the league, who also had 17 points. He and Thompson, TNT Factory, doing work again. Tari Eason is good. Jordan Miller in the fourth quarter, well, he was playing some bully ball out there. He was on his bully stuff against Tari Eason. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Just getting to the line over and over again because a legit NBA player and one of the better young defenders out there didn't know what to do with him. That is encouraging. Really encouraging. He also had a putback on his own miss. I think he's got to start playing. I mean, I wanted it game one. If you listen to me, I've been talking about Jordan Miller since before the season started. Go to @FollowAdamA. I post the receipts there. I said, in a season like this, where you're not a contender unless Kawhi can stay healthy, you have a guy who's about to turn 25. How on earth can you not start to develop him? The reason you draft a guy who was 23 when they got him last year is to hopefully get him going sooner than later. The reason you take a guy that old in the draft is so he can contribute sooner. Well, Jordan Miller looks like he's ready. So you might have the best of both worlds finally. A player that can not only help you win, but develop while doing so. That's the sweet spot, the Goldilocks situation. And the Clippers might have that with Jordan Miller. It is Miller time, as everyone's saying here in the chat. Trust me on this. Jordan Miller is a bucket. If he's not getting a layup on you, it probably means it's because he's at the free throw line and you had to foul him. He's stronger than he looks. He has that deceleration at the bucket, similar to, I know, SGA a little bit. It's just that sidestep footwork where he throws the defense off. He is so impressive. And he did it again in this game. While he only made one shot, it's because they kept having to foul him. They kept having to foul him over and over again. He got 11 points in 10 minutes. 10 free throws attempted in 10 minutes. This is not because the Houston Rockets were playing hack a Jordan Miller. They didn't want to foul. They wanted to run the clock. They wanted the game to be over. They're up big, and they couldn't. They couldn't stay in front of him. He gets you off balance with each and every dribble and step. I want to see him get a consistent look over a 10-game stretch. And if that means Nico Batum, who only played 4 minutes in this one, has to sit and rest a little bit, I'm not worried about that. Because Batum stays ready. I don't worry about Nico having to catch a rhythm the next time you need to pull the lever and bring him into a ball game because he's been out for some time, because you're giving Jordan Miller a look. I certainly don't worry about him getting upset about it. He's a good vet. He's going to coach him up. And he just played a ton of minutes for France in the Olympics. I think he led them in minutes. He's about to turn 36. So give Batum maybe a little bit of rest for a couple weeks where he doesn't play much. And how about we see Jordan Miller? People say, well, who are you taking out? Amir's been too good. He has been. Didn't have a great game, but I thought he was solid even in this one. And he has been more than solid so far in the 13 games this season. Kevin Porter Jr. had 15 points, 5 of 10 shooting, hit 3 3-pointers back in Houston, one of his better games, if not his best game of the season. He had a defensive play where he created a turnover on the Houston Rockets, and Jeff Van Gundy was cheering him on. His defense has been, I don't know, a positive. So you can't take him out. So who's it going to be? I think Nico. And I don't think that would be a problem for him. Of course, he's a competitor. It's not a long-term thing. They're going to need Batum. But if you're getting Mo Bamba back and he's taking Kai's minutes, and you have a more traditional, even though he can shoot a 3 ball, but somebody with a little bit more seasoning as the backup center, you might not need Nico anymore to play small ball 5 as much. Therefore, it makes sense to me that Jordan Miller gets into the rotation consistently to see what you have. And no, I don't want to see this stuff from HB that says Batum is a bum now. He's far from that. Said like 2 bad games. He rarely ever has a bad game. They're not going to have to go as small because Bamba's going to be playing soon, guys. He just played in the G League. I think he might be back Sunday or Monday. And therefore, you got him as your backup 5. You don't need Nico for that. And what about Jordan Miller getting some minutes? I think it's time. We'll take a quick timeout. We'll come back. 866-987-2570. 866-987-2570 is the phone number. I'm Adam Osland after the Clippers fall in Houston 125-104. And I'm hoping this is just the start, the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Jordan Miller and playing time. 10 minutes, 11 points, cut up 10 free throws. He's got it. You can see it out there. It's all translating. He's an NBA player. I'm Adam Osland, and you're listening to AM 570 LA Sports.
I'm on the pursuit of happiness, and I know everything is shining, always gonna be gold. It's for the people.
Clippers lose big in
This is
Houston.
street radio for unsung hero. Riding in the
Final
Rego,
score,
trying to stay legal.
125 to 104. They lose their first in-season tournament game and the first tiebreaker in group play. You play 4 teams. This is Group A that the Clippers are in. First tiebreaker goes to a point differential. So, yeah, Houston was putting them up still. They had 31 points in the fourth quarter alone. But I think this Clippers game was lost probably midway through the second. We talked about it with Carlo Jimenez, but Clippers got down by 20 at the half. It was closer than that to start. They were down by 8 after the first quarter, but that second quarter got away from them. And the Houston Rockets went, was it a 16-2 run at one point? Clippers couldn't get stops, but I'm telling you, they couldn't get buckets. It's their offense killing their defense. And with so many guys having off nights concurrently, it's going to be a bad time. It's going to be hard. You can't have Ivica Zubac and Norman Powell play like that and expect to win. One of them had to have a big game. Instead, they both went the other direction again. Harden at least was at 50%. It's only the second game this season where he has shot 50%, 7 of 14, 3 of 9 from 3, one shy of passing Ray Allen for the second most threes made in NBA history. But that second quarter was really disappointing because I thought there were some good signs. The Clippers had it 31-30 after Kevin Porter Jr. made a three-pointer. Then the Rockets call a timeout. And this was a consistent theme. Clippers make a run. Rockets call a timeout, counter, come out, and go on a run themselves. And after it was 31-30, let me see how much time it took for the Clippers to get down as much as they were in the first half. 8:27 mark. It's 31-30. Clippers have it to within 1. Rockets take a timeout. So, how long does it take? Less than 4 minutes for them to get up by 16? For them to get up by 19, it was about 5 minutes. 5 minutes later, they're up by 19. It's just brutal. Clippers couldn't get anything to go. Chris Dunn was missing threes. James Harden. Derrick Jones Jr., of course. He had a miserable night. I mean, they had some really good looks. They were giving Chris Dunn those open looks, and he could do nothing with it. I still felt like, he was probably one of the better players tonight for the Clippers. He had a crazy steal and score. He was playing hard because he only knows one way to play. But the Clippers 10 of 40 from 3. They went into this series against Houston, the hottest team in the league from 3. And they come out of it ice cold. And instead, it's like Rogue taking your powers. Houston becomes the team that now has the three-point shooting going in their favor. I don't know if somebody got a gray streak in their hair or anything like that, but yeah, they absorbed the Clippers' three-point shooting powers, and now they have it. Clippers got to get it back. Another poor team from 3. Another poor team overall, actually. Not that Houston is, but Clippers will see a struggling Utah Jazz team Sunday night back at Intuit Dome. We'll take a quick time out here after the Clippers lose 125 to 104 in Houston to the Rockets. I'm Adam Osland, and you're listening to AM 570 LA Sports.
Till it ain't. Yeah. I'm building up a wall till it breaks.
Show.
So tight, so fly.
Clippers lose by 21 as Houston almost hit 21 three-pointers. Just 19. Clippers lose 125-104 in Houston to the Rockets. I'm Adam Osland. This is your post-game show, Clippers Talk. Whether you're listening on AM 570 LA Sports or at Clippers Talk on the YouTube side. Appreciate you guys in the chat. Most of you, some of you being a little bit delusional and mean-spirited. Some of you are just realizing that, oh, maybe they're not a championship team this season without Kawhi Leonard. I don't know. Somebody told me they could contend without Kawhi, or they could be the 6th seed or the 5th seed without Kawhi. They can't, guys. They can't. The West is too good. Case in point, the Rockets are much better this season. I thought this would happen. They were primed to make this leap. They're making it. Unfortunately, right now, it's happening at the Clippers' expense. Everybody is going to start turning their heads and saying, hey, the Rockets are 9-4. They're making a push. They have one of the best defenses, and they're one of the best rebounding teams in the league. That is a disastrous recipe, especially for the Clippers. They're young, a ton of athleticism. They can play with pace if they feel like it. I did see this from Law Murray post-game talking about Coach Lue. This is encouraging. Coach Lue mentioned that Jordan Miller's ability to draw fouls is something the team may need to look at when Law asked him about guys getting more of a chance to play earlier. So he also mentioned Bones and his pace, or maybe Law did, and Kobe at the 5. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing Kobe at the 5 a little bit. Like, we've seen it some. I would shake things up just a little bit. Not overreact too much, but find a way to get Jordan Miller some minutes consistently. It's that simple. Jordan Miller is that good. We think the only way to find out is if he gets consistent minutes. But as I mentioned last segment, those runs after timeouts by the Houston Rockets, where they go from being up 1 to up 19 in about 5 minutes in the second quarter. And then in the third quarter, the same thing happened again. Clippers didn't have it to within 1 because they were down 20 at the half, but they had it to within 12, I want to say it was. It's 70-58 after James Harden had that step back at the free throw line. Timeout. What happens next? This is the 8:03 mark. Let's see. How long does it take? How long is this run by the Houston Rockets? They hit a Dylan Brooks 3 right out of the timeout. Jalen Green gets a dunk. Fred VanVleet gets an easy layup. Jabari Smith Jr. gets a tip shot. And they're down by 21. Within the span of about 3 minutes after they had it down to 12 and there was some life out there. And it goes up to 21 in about 3 minutes. Because the Clippers can't score. Norman Powell missed a 3-pointer during that run. Derrick Jones Jr., off night for him. Beats the Zubats. Missed a really bad hook shot that was well off. This offense, I don't know what you guys expected from it, but this is about what I expected from it coming into this year. They were going to have nights like this where it looks ugly, where they go into deep funks and droughts that they can't get out of, and their defense is not good enough to keep them in ball games. Because eventually your defense will break. I've been saying this for a while. This has been my concern heading into the season, early in the season, even when they were 2-1. I was talking about Harden being overextended when they were 2-1. Same thing when they were 6-4. I've never gotten too high. I'm not getting too low now, though, either. I knew what I was looking at with this team. A team that at best is going to hang around 500 without Kawhi Leonard. At best. And at their worst, you're going to see nights like this against good teams, quality competition, and teams that are figuring it out right now and being molded like the Houston Rockets. They're having a moment. They're going to take down some of the upper echelon teams in the Western Conference coming up, and everybody's going to say, oh, the Rockets are a problem now. Houston, we have a problem. You're going to be seeing that graphic everywhere. It's going to be a national narrative very soon, how good this Houston Rockets team is. I promise you. So are they terrible losses? No. Houston's a better team than the Clippers, but they also weren't very competitive in these 2 ball games against them. They also just didn't show up in some ways. Zoo's better than this. Norm is better than this. You give the Houston Rockets, some credit, but the Clippers can still play a lot better than this, and they still see them 2 more times this season. So when you talk about that pick swap that OKC has, they're taking it from whoever has the higher draft pick, meaning the one closer to the bottom of the draft. It's very confusing verbiage. The one that's closer to the number 1 pick, they're taking that pick away from either Houston or your Los Angeles Clippers. That's what OKC is doing. Houston's is top 10 protected. I don't think that's going to be an issue. They're not going to fall into the top 10. They're good, guys. The Clippers, they got to find a way. Win Sunday against Utah, and then I believe they're taking on the Golden State Warriors on Monday night. That is a huge back-to-back, but can't even think about the Golden State Warriors right now. Win against Utah. That's a game you can't lose. The Utah Jazz are struggling. It's another game like they saw against Portland, a game they should have won. It's a game like against the Toronto Raptors that you have to win, and the Clippers still only won it by 2. It's just a must if you want any chance of being 6 through 10 in the West and hanging around until Kawhi gets back, and who knows when that is. Clippers lose tonight, 125-104 in Houston to the Rockets. We'll get back after it on Sunday night at Intuit Dome. Tip time against the Utah Jazz is at 6. Your pregame show starting at 5 before we get out of here. I do want to thank the Clippers organization, Ralph Lawler, Brian Seaman, Noah Eagle, Carlo Jimenez on the call, Big Brother Jake Warner, our head engineer, Katie Newton, our producer here in the bank. Thanks to the chat, some of y'all. We'll do some Clippers talk after dark coming up in a little bit, of course. Outside of the chat and the YouTube Clippers talk, we'll be back here on AM 570 LA Sports Sunday night.